Thank you. Greetings, everyone. My name is Nyombi Morris, and I'm a youth Ugandan climate activist and the founder of a non-profit organization known as Earth Volunteer. I brought this idea after realizing that we were so separated as young people, so we wanted to bring this new generation together to take first step. So today we are on the mission of reaching out 1.5 million young Ugandans by 2030 to start taking actions on climate change. We have already started. We started with tree planting, with over 48,000 trees have been planted already, and we are in schools trying to carry out sensitization. Every time when I talk about that I'm a climate activist, people laugh at me, and I'll be like, what is that? You guys are known for making noise and seeking attention, which is true, because through seeking attention, that's when we make change happen. However, this is going to be a disclaimer. If you want to be a climate activist, you have to expect shocks. If you haven't received any shock, you are not so close. You shouldn't call yourself a climate activist. I got my first shock in 2020 when I stood up with my friends to challenge the government to revoke the idea they have put in place to sell one of the biggest forests in Uganda to a sugarcane company. So their mission was to make sure they reach like 2025 when the price of sugar is low. So they said, this is a fertile land, this forest is just here for just fun, let us sell it and maybe plant sugarcane. This was a very bad idea to me, who has been planting trees for so many years. So we started striking as usual, and they got the attention on social media, and they banned me, they suspended my account for 1.5 months. So when I got it back, I told my friend, you know what? We need to do something. So by that time, we are only 3 people, the one holding the camera and my friend. So we started going to school during lockdown to start sensitizing young people to do something, to connect them with nature, because we are part of nature, honestly. So the number kept on growing. By the middle of 2021, we had over 250 students joining us on our tree planting. This was huge because we understood what they want, and we are so happy to hear the idea. And as the person introduced me said, yes, we were nominated, we were awarded as CNN Environmentalist of Tomorrow at the end of 2021 for our achievement. And this was a very wonderful move to inspire me. Sometimes we speak and they may not hear us. So what happens when we speak and no one cares? One is chaos. All of you are seeing what is happening in West Africa today. The coups all over. People are striking. People are chasing away governments. The reason why this is happening is because leaders are not listening. It's not that people are frustrated. Leaders are not listening to their needs. So recently, France has been exploiting Niger. When you go and Google the top 10 poorest countries in the world, you find Niger. But at the same time, when you change and Google the top 10 exporters of uranium and lithium, you find Niger in the top 5 countries. So people have been asking, where is our money going? Why are we not developing? Unemployment is on the rise, you know. So what they did was to send their idea to the president, and the president never listened. So they turned into other people. And this is the junta who is leading today. So people call him a junta, but at the same time, he's the only guy who is able to listen to these people and understand what they are going through. So this headline was released just last week, indicating that France is being fired away from Niger, and they are withdrawing the troops. But what if they knew what to do? They wouldn't be leaving. So we as leaders, we have to be a good listener. We have to understand the communities we serve, and this is the only way we can make change. And this has happened. People who manage to listen to us, we have actually managed to achieve so many things. Last year, since 1995, the climate conference has been happening and young people have not been included in these climate negotiations. So at COP26, we said we want to see ourselves in these climate conferences. But to get that, we need to file a petition to the Secretary General of the United Nations. So we filed asking to include young people in climate conferences. And last year, for the first time, we had a children and youth pavilion at COP27 in Egypt. This was a huge win, even if it took long, but we got it. Because they listened, they heard us. The second win came very late, very late. When we entered Egypt, everyone was scaring us. We received a lot of threats as activists. They took our passports, they profiled our names, our locations, our hotels, even the buses we used to take coming to conference, they were noting everything. Why? Because they never wanted us to strike. But as a conference, it was in Africa for the first time. And we all know that Africa contributes the least to the impacts of climate change, but we continue to suffer the huge impact. And at the same time, we are not compensated. Whenever these losses happen, leaders come to the pulpit and talk about, yes, we understand and we are ready to do something. But they don't change. They don't do anything. So we say this is a climate conference and we have to frontline African issues. So we said as activists all over, we are pushing for loss and damage finance. We need compensation. The first week we striked, nothing happened. The second week we striked, nothing happened. So we're like, I think this is another failure, so we need to go home. Then that very evening, UNFCCC said we are adding more 2 days for negotiators to complete because there is a lot of wrangles happening. And on the last day of the 2 other days, that's when they went ahead and announced that loss and damage has been added on the agenda for the first time. Thank you. This was a win that came because we were united. And activists from Global North got a chance to listen to us and understand why we are so frustrated by this crisis. However, we should all understand that the story of a better world is a story of disruption, but at the same time, a story of innovation. Sometimes we have to take a first step and challenge the system. There are a lot of outdated policies. For example, the one for Niger is not because they didn't know what to do, but because there are policies that were put in place during colonialism, and these policies are still active and working even in this generation. So sometimes you have to take stand. Many of the changes that have happened, they had leaders, and those leaders are among all of you. Anyone can take the lead. So we need to challenge the system and challenge the status quo and be like, what if you are wrong? Recently, I took a first step. This was very scary. When I got an invitation to be part of this conference, I was so happy. And I was like, I'll get it, because I've been traveling all over the world, and I expected to get my visa done. The first application I sent in, I was rejected. They said they are worried I might not come back after this event. So I asked them, so what am I going to do? Am I going to appeal, or am I going to apply again? Because I have all the visas. So I was like, maybe I missed up something. I told Ruby, you know what? Send me all the documents. Let us apply again. We applied. The first week went. The second week went. The third week went. You know, they give you 15 working days. So the days were over, and I wasn't seeing anything. So I asked myself, what will happen if they return my passport without a visa? At the same time, I asked myself, what am I going to tell the organizers? Because they provided everything. And now, I'm not receiving my passport, and I'm not sure if the visa is in. So I went ahead, I told Ruby, you know what? Days are done. Days are over. I'm going to do something. I'm going to expose the system. I don't know what will happen, but wait for my tweet. That's the tweet I made. And as always, you have to expect shocks. So there was a lot of criticism in that tweet when you go down and read. But I wasn't afraid. until I saw this tweet. So this guy was trying to scare me. Kindly manage this off social media. This approach may not be counterproductive. So I was like, it's fine. It may not be counterproductive, but again, I've lost everything. So if I keep silent, I'll die. And if I fail to speak, still I'll die. So you have to speak or die in silence. The next day, I received a call direct from my friend who worked at the Embassy of Netherlands in Belgium. She told me, Morris, the ambassador said, you are trending all over the embassies. They are, they are asking, why are they detaining your passport? Why are they not releasing your passport? They should give you a visa. So after that call, I received a message from the embassy telling me, come and pick your passport. So when I picked my passport, I was like, now I don't know, if they don't give me a visa, it means they have banned me from entering the European Union. So I found a visa in. That was a huge. And one of the comments I received was, one person said, it means that those who have no power, those who have no influence on social media, cannot speak and be heard. So for you spoke, immediately you got your visa. But there are some young people who cannot speak, but they are being rejected. And before I made that tweet, I did my research on Google when I searched Schengen visa injustices. And I realized that since 2021, there was a new law that came in place, and Africa was put on the top list of those countries that are risk of migration. So since that time, they have rejected over 2.1 million visa applicants in Africa. Not because the documents are wrong. It is because they believe we might enter your country and don't come back. At the same time, there's some people, when they come to pulpit, they say, we are a global community, we should work together, we are one. And I'm like, really? Because my passport, when you check on my passport, I cannot enter European countries without a visa. But there are so many countries in Europe that can enter Africa without a visa. You know, my passport will not allow me to enter 54 countries, and the poorest countries in the world. And for you guys, when you have a European passport or American passport, you can enter more than 200 countries without a visa. So I realized there are a lot of things that need to change. That's why I took the change. I took the first step. And I was so happy with this friend's comment. She said, we may not have the same courage, but you proved to me that indeed, in a gentle way, we can shake the world. This is the change I want everyone to take. Because change starts from somewhere. And every change had someone who led that change. I may not be the first person, but at least I made a change. I made a first step. And I'm sure so many youth activists like her comment, they will be coming out and challenge the system because they are outdated. We are not a global community until some systems change. And you should also understand that change doesn't start with young people. Anyone can start it. You don't have to be old or young to do something. It all requires courage and braveness. So recently you also that there are 6 young activists taking European government to court over climate change. These are young people. They are challenging a very hard issue. At the same time, they are challenging governments. So it all starts with eliminating fear. And I believe, because I've been speaking to all of you in some workshops, and I realize everyone wants to be a good leader and a good manager, which has to start with taking first step. I'm starting a new project called Eco Village, and this project is going to be empowering women that have been affected by the impacts of climate change, and I'll be providing them with educational resources to make sure they continue surviving in a small scale. And I believe all of you can take a first step by becoming one of the first persons to donate or to support my project. You can, because you have all the support. Thank you.